Hey there, welcome to the channel. So Tara recently requested gluten-free hot dog rolls, which is perfect because we're coming onto summer where everyone's gonna be grilling and you don't want to miss out on hot dog rolls because everyone else's are regular. So I've tweaked a recipe and made gluten-free hot dog rolls. I did freeze them, but I filmed the entire process. So I'm gonna show you the process and then stick around to the end because after I do my recipe notes on making them, we're gonna do a short little clip with what Tara told me she thought about them. I'm Jamie with Savorysaver. I share gluten-free recipes, tips, tricks, and resources to make your gluten-free lifestyle easier. So please consider hitting subscribe and let's get started. So when I say attempt, I mean attempt because we're gonna do a recipe tweak. A while back, I took King Arthur's gluten-free bread flour that is supposed to be a 1-to-1 conversion and made their hamburger buns directly from the website. I had really good luck with the hamburger buns, and Tara actually would eat the entire bun when we'd have a hamburger instead of throwing half of it away. They held up well, they had a good taste, they had a good texture, and Tara has requested that I make them again. She also said, can't you just turn them into hot dog rolls? So we're gonna try that today and see how they work. So basically it's a shaping thing. So instead of doing round buns, we're gonna do long buns and we're gonna see how that works out. And if you guys know me, sometimes I screw things up. So let's see if this recipe works. All right, guys, I just want to make a note that some of you guys will not be able to use this gluten-free bread flour. Let's go over the ingredients real quick. It is gluten-free. However, the main ingredient in it is wheat starch. So if you have a wheat allergy, you are most likely not going to be able to use this. And I know that some of you are gluten-free and you still don't fully trust that, and that is okay. I completely understand. Do what's best for you and your family. So the ingredients in this are gluten-free wheat starch, cornstarch, cellulose and psyllium fiber blend, sorghum flour, pea protein, xanthan gum, and enzymes. This product hasn't been on the market for a long time, I think a couple years at this point. I will link down below to where you can get it if you haven't seen it in your stores. I don't usually see it in the stores, I see it online. So I'll link down below to that if you want to check it out. But in the meantime, let's try to make hamburger buns. No. Let's try to make hot dog buns. I already did the hamburger buns. The first thing we need to do is make the dough/batter. So I have got 3.5 cups of the King Arthur gluten-free bread flour blend in my mixing bowl. You can do this by hand, and honestly, last time I made it, I don't see any problems with mixing it by hand. I'm using the stand mixer just because it's a little quicker, but it's basically mixing it together and then letting it set. So if you don't have a stand mixer or want to dig it out, I would totally try this by hand. So to the bowl, besides the flour, I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of instant yeast, 1 1/4 teaspoons of table salt. I'm gonna take my beater and just whisk it around a little bit. Then we'll add the wet. So for the wet ingredients, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter, unsalted, 1 large egg, and finally 1 2/3 cup water. If you are looking for measurements by weight, then check out the recipe down below. I'll list the ingredients and the weights will be there, or you can go to the recipe link in the description. Now we're gonna mix it until everything is combined. And if you are mixing it by hand, it does say you may have lumps and that's okay at this point. Let's give it a quick mix. All right, guys, it says to mix it until it's a sticky batter. I'm gonna scrape down the bowl and make sure that all the flour has been incorporated from the bottom. I don't see any flour on the bottom. I'm gonna clean off the beater. So that's what it looks like at this point. Now we're gonna cover it with a towel and I'm gonna let it rest for 20 minutes. At that point, it should firm up a little bit more and look more like a dough. So we'll be back in just a second. So it's been 20 minutes. Let's take off the towel and see what it looks like. Pretty much the same. I'm not sticking to it at the moment, so let's knead it a little bit. So I've got my silicone mat down and I've added some gluten-free flour to that. I just used the bread flour blend today just because it was in front of me. You could also grease your surface down to do it that way. Let's get it onto the mat. It is coming up from the bottom pretty much in one big piece. So I had a little bit of extra I had to scrape out, but nothing bad. So the bowl's pretty clean. Now we need to knead the dough 5 or 6 times until it comes together. I've got a dough scraper if I need it. I've got my silicone spatula if I need it. I've got my hands floured and I can add more if needed. So you want to do fold and turn it 90 degrees. So we're going to do that 5 or 6 times. I have found that I usually do it more like 7 to 9 times typically when I work with this type dough. So I'm just going to pull it up with the dough scraper, bring it towards me and fold it over itself. Then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, whichever direction 90 works better for you. Do it again. There's 2. Guys, that's 5 times. I don't really have any issues with that. It says that the dough should be sticky to the touch, which it's not at the moment because it absorbs some of that flour. And it does say that it should have some bounce and body to it, which it does. So now we need to let it rise again. So back in the bowl. Cover it up again. Now that it's covered, we're gonna put it back to rise for another 40 minutes. All right, guys, it's been 40 minutes. So let's take off the towel. It has risen some. So we're gonna take it out. I can touch it, it's not sticking. So now I'm gonna knead it like I did before, another 5 or 6 times. So this time I don't think I need to use my scrape. So there's 1, 2, and 6. All right, now I need to break it into separate dough balls and shape it. So I'm gonna do it by weight. Each one is gonna be about 115 grams. So I'm gonna put a little more flour down just to keep them from sticking as they sit there and get it weighed out, and then we'll shape them. So everything's been sorted out. Now I'm gonna shape it into a ball and then into a log. So I'm gonna press it down a little bit, and you wanna take it and just kind of pull it in on itself like 4 times. You want it to make a ball. And it's gonna make that top a little bit smoother. Now I'm gonna shape it into a ball, and I'm gonna cup my hand over it and just go around. And if I need to get some flour on my hands, I will. But doesn't look like I need to. So now I'm gonna try to actually roll it out into a hot dog bun shape. Okay, so I've rolled it out into about a 6-inch bun, and now I'm gonna place it over here on a parchment lined piece of paper, and I'm gonna do the same thing to the rest of them. All right, guys, that actually worked really well. I did notice on the mat that not having as much flour on the mat itself did better because it gave me more friction, allowing me to roll them more easily. But I did put flour in my hands just once or twice, just a little bit from what was on the board to keep it from sticking to my hand. So these are about 6 inches long each, and I'm just gonna press a little bit of them back together just to give them a little more shape. And I think I'm gonna press them down just a little. And then hopefully they will puff back up as they continue to rise. Now we need to let these rise for 20 to 30 minutes, covered one more time. And while that happens, I'm gonna preheat my oven to 350 degrees. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm also gonna prep 1 more egg with a tablespoon of water added to it for an egg wash to coat these before we throw them in the oven. So let's jump ahead after these have risen. All right, guys, it's been 20 or 25 minutes. They look like they've puffed up some. Now I'm gonna give them an egg wash. Again, I have 1 egg with about a tablespoon of water. I'm just gonna brush them all. All right, guys, everything's been brushed. If you wanted to, you could sprinkle some kind of seed on the top. Since we're doing hot dog buns, I'm gonna leave them as is. Now we're gonna bake them. They're gonna bake for 30 to 35 minutes until a thermometer registers 190 degrees Fahrenheit. And what that's gonna do is tell you that the bread is cooked all the way through. I will probably check these 25 to 30 minutes because of course they're long and not round. So Let's see what happens after we get them baked. This looks a little more hot dog bun over here than this one. This one's a little long, but because we're kind of experimenting a little bit, I don't have a problem with that. Let's see what they do when they bake. We'll be right back. All right, guys. So they're out of the oven. They baked for just between the 20 and the 25 minutes. They did temp at the 190 that I needed them to. So here's what they look like. They are a little cracked on the top, but I'm okay with that. But they are nicely golden, and they kind of look like breadsticks more than hot dog rolls. This one actually looks pretty much like a hot dog roll. I think we'll be okay though, because basically we want to be able to split it and have it hold up for a hot dog. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to brush each one with a little bit of melted butter. All right, guys, everything's been brushed with some melted butter. I'm going to put them aside to cool, take a few pictures, and we're going to give one a try. Okay, so they've cooled off. Here are our hot dog buns. And I have a confession. I'm not actually going to try putting a hot dog in it because we're having hot dogs later in the week and I don't have any at the moment. I just wanted to get ahead of the game so I could have them in the freezer ready to go. So I am going to show you guys cutting it, and we're going to open it and see how it does when it splits, because if it splits okay and seems to be holding together, I think we'll be pretty good for a hot dog to be in it. So let's grab a knife and a cutting board and move you guys down to the counter so we can cut this open. Okay, so here's our hot dog roll. And if you wanted to, I guess you could stand it up and slice it this way and down, but it's not going to stand up. So I'm going to go right down the middle, and I'm going to try to go at least halfway down. Okay, it slices well. I'm using a serrated knife. All right, guys, that is split open. I can definitely get a hot dog in there. Let's flip it over and look and see what it looks like underneath, because I sliced it about halfway down and now I have forced it open because you can see the breaks here. So let's flip it over and look at it. Guys, it's holding together there. I mean, it's at the bottom, but holding together. So I can see some holes in there now, but it's standing up. I think it's going to hold a hot dog. Now let's give it a taste and see if the taste measures up. All right, so here it is. Cut. Texture looks good. Looks like bread on the inside. I'm going to cut off one end of it to try. We're also going to see if me doing this breaks the hot dog roll. Okay, it just broke. So don't cut down as far in your hot dog rolls, and don't tear them all the way to the bottom like I did, so that doesn't happen. Let's give it a try though. I really like the taste of these. I like the texture of it. It squishes like bread, it looks like bread, and most importantly, it tastes like bread. This gluten-free flour blend actually has a really good texture to it for the recipes I've made with it. I know that it's a flour blend that some of you guys either can't or will not eat, but if it's something that you can include in your diet, I think it's worth picking up a bag. All right, guys, we've gone through the process on how I made these hot dog rolls. Now, here is what Tara thought of the hot dog rolls. So first of all, they thawed out fine. I took one out a few hours before dinner at room temperature, just put it in a sealed container on the counter, and it thawed fine. It also sliced fine. However, unlike the hamburger buns that you just had to slice across and you had to top and to bottom, these, of course, you split down the middle. So we did have some breakage because you had to have enough room for the hot dog in there as well as toppings. That being said, Tara liked the taste and texture of the rolls because they were similar to the gluten-free hamburger rolls that I made. Tara also said that the hot dog bun tended to break up more than the hamburger bun. I also noticed that she left a couple bites of hot dog bun on the plate, and when she had them as burger buns, she ate the whole thing. So that tells me that it just didn't come out as well as the hamburger buns. Now, I do think this is a good recipe. I do think it's worth trying if you want a longer bun to have as a hot dog or even a sandwich. You guys being gluten-free know we are always looking for good gluten-free recipes, so we might have to just find another hot dog bun recipe that's gluten-free and test that out as well. In any case, that's all I have for today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.